Welcome to our smallest cellar. Here we have around 300,000 liters of port wine, just tawny family. So it's a cellar that is still in use. Like I said before, there are three families of port wine: white, ruby and tawny. The white is produced with white grapes. The ruby and the tawny, the two reds, they are produced with the same red grapes. The difference between them is the aging process. The white and the ruby will age in big vats like that one in the bottom of the stairs, with 3, 5, 10, 20, 30,000 liters each one or even more. In those big vats, the wine will have few contact with the wood and with the oxygen. Because there's more wine on the center, less wine on the borders in contact with the wood, it means that the wine will preserve its original characteristics, the color and the fruity flavors. The average of age for the white and for the ruby is between 3 and 7 years. And the tawny will age in the small barrels. Each one has more or less 670 liters. In these barrels, the wine will have a lot of contact with the wood and with the oxygen. Because there's less wine on the center, more wine on the borders in contact with the wood, it means that with the time the wine will gain other characteristics. Its color will become lighter, and the wine will gain some woody flavors, like caramel, honey, or dry fruits. The average of age for the tawny is 3, 7, 10, 20, 30 years. Some companies also produce the 40, but it's not our case. I was saying average of age because most of the port wines are a blend. It's a mix of different wines of different years. Younger wines and older wines. And after mixing them, we calculate the average of age. And for example, for the white that you will taste in the end of the visit, our Adriano White Reserva, 7 years average of age, we use a small sample of a white from 1966, mixed with other wines. But the average of age is always 7 years. This is what happens for most of the port wines. Inside the ruby family, we have a special category, the single harvest wines. The wines that are produced with grapes from one specific year, only with the best quality grapes, and only in the exceptional years. A single harvest can be either a vintage or a late bottle vintage. The vintages will age in the big vats during 2 years, and will be bottled in the second year. But unlike the other wines, the vintages are not filtered. It means that the sediments are also kept inside the bottle in contact with the wine. That's why these wines always have a big capacity of evolution inside the bottle, for decades. The late bottle vintage, or LBV, will also age in the big vats, but during 4 years, and will be bottled in the 4th year, a bit later than the vintage. The LBVs are not filtered too, and will age inside the bottle for about 15 to 20 years. And now I would like to show you a map with the Douro demarcated region, where the port wine is produced, and then I'll explain you a bit more about how we produce the port wine. This way, please. That's the north region of Portugal. Right now we are here in Vila Nova de Gaia. Across the river is Porto. The port wine is produced in the Douro demarcated region, this darker area that you see on the map. It starts about 100 kilometers away from here and goes until the border with Spain. The Douro demarcated region was created in 1756. Legally, it's the only one in the world where we can produce the port wine, because there is a specific classification, the denomination of controlled origin. And it's also a mountain region that has a very specific microclimate, because the mountains in the area protect the region from the wind that comes from the ocean, and because of this the summers there are very hot and very dry, and the winters are very cold. Another important thing in the region is the soil, and on your right you can see that replica of the oldest plantation method that is used in the region. The walls are only twice as large as that one, with the access stairs, and it's always in levels, in terraces. The soil in the region is composed mostly by schist, that will retain the water of the rain, retain the heat during the day, and release the heat during the night. And like this, the vineyards always have a thermal stability during the 24 hours of the day and all over the year. And to produce the port wine, there are some phases. We always start with the harvesting, that happens between August and October. In general, this phase is equal for all the wines, be it a still wine or a port wine. After the harvesting, the grapes will be transported to our estates that we have in the Douro region. And in total, the Ramos Pinto company has 4. 2 of them in Pinhão, where we continue the production process of the port wine, and the other 2 in Vila Nova de Foscoa, where we continue the production process of the still wines, the normal wines we drink during the meal. And after the grapes arrive to our estates, they will be smashed, either mechanically or manually. The next phase will be the fermentation. It's a chemical process that will transform the natural sugar of the grapes into alcohol. It's during this phase when we have the main difference between the still wines and the port wine. For the still wines, we let the fermentation go until the end of the process, more or less 2 weeks. And in the end, we have a wine with 13 or 14 degrees of alcohol. But for the port wine, we stop the fermentation, because between the 2nd and the 5th day of fermentation, we add wine brandy, always in the proportion 80% of wine, 20% of brandy. It's a brandy with no color, no flavor, no smell, and 77 degrees of alcohol. That's why the port wine has a higher degree of alcohol than the other wines, between 19 and 22%. Once we add the brandy, we will immediately stop the fermentation, and that will conserve the natural sugar of the grapes. That's why the port wine is also sweet. After this phase, the wine will stay in our estates during the winter. In the beginning of the spring, it will be transported to our cellars here in Vila Nova de Gaia to continue the aging process. Not by boat anymore, because nowadays we transport the wine in tank trucks because it's faster and safe. And we are talking about port wine, but we are not in Porto. We are in Vila Nova de Gaia. It's 2 different cities. The cellars are on this side of the river. Well, first because Vila Nova de Gaia is facing north. It means that we have less solar exposition. The temperature is naturally lower. We are also close to the river and to the ocean, and because of that the temperature is more constant during the entire year, unlike the Douro region where there are big variations of temperature. A third because in the 18th century, the merchants at the time, mostly English and Dutch, were looking for a space to build their warehouses. But in Porto, the taxes at the time were higher than here in Gaia. Nowadays it's equal in the entire country. But the main reason is because at the time, in the 18th century, there was not enough space in Porto to build the warehouses. Here in Gaia there was more space. That's why the cellars are here in Gaia until nowadays. I don't know if you have questions you'd like to ask.
How many people work in the company?
I don't know, ma'am. I don't have access to the statistics. Sorry. Seems like everybody's anxious for the next part, the tasting, with 3 glasses of port, white ruby and tawny. This way, please. We are served as digestives after the meal, at the room temperature, around 18 degrees. The white goes well, for example, with dried fruits, the ruby with cheese or dark chocolate, the tawny with sweet desserts, like apple pie or our pastelinato or something like that.
Is it possible to take a picture of the bottles?
Yes, I can show you the
Yes,
bottles.
please. Thank you.